Well, today's show is no different. We are joined by an amazing leader in the research and innovation space, Dr. Vathiswa Papu-Zamxaka, who is also currently serving as the Deputy Vice Chancellor at the People's University, Tshwane University of Technology, in the research, innovation, and engagement. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today, and I would like to greet your viewers as well at home.
Thank you so much, Doc. This is a long-awaited conversation with you. Understanding your journey and where you come from, I think it's important to go back to the beginning, where it all began for you. Ukhulele ezilalini, and how was it like for you?
Well, yeah, I grew up in the rural village which is called Njwaqa, in the Eastern Cape, drawing water from the river for drinking,
Sure.
Looking after goats, looking after cattle. I was the only child, being the first grandchild.
Sure.
So I had a dual role of being a girl and a boy,
Sure.
if you get what I mean. But at a very young age, I was having big aspirations. I knew that I want to be successful.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier on in the side conversation about me ending up studying overseas.
Yes.
You know, that dream started when I was still in primary school, and looking at the level of poverty that was prevailing at the time, I made a decision in my heart that I don't want to live the life that I was living back then.
Yes.
I do want to to become successfsul. So after completing standard 5, grade 7,
Yes.
then I worked so hard.
Yes.
I was always a top student in
Yes.
class, or top learner in class. So I was sent to a boarding school in Alice, next to Hoxbeck, Pandulwazi Agricultural High School. And I did so well even there. I matriculated from there, was always top in class, even there. So then, yeah, the rest up to where I am now. I mean, having studied in so many universities, including Umeå University in Sweden,
Yes.
Including London South Bank University in the United Kingdom, and having worked for both government of the country and also for multinational clinical research company with its headquarters in the USA, and being responsible
Sure.
for South Africa, for Tanzania and Uganda.
Sure.
In my portfolio when I was overseeing the African side of the organization. It was a very big organization, I must say. We had footprint in 11 countries.
Sure.
In Europe, footprint in the USA, footprints in India and China, and also in Africa, of which I was leading the African subsidiary of the organization. And up to me being now the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research, Innovation and Engagement. So all that I could say is the strives of the time were the motivation for one to work hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a matter of choice when you're looking at the struggles that we are having in life, whether you want to turn those into opportunities for yourself and make a better life.
Yes.
So I chose to turn them for the better and to see that as training. By the way, one of the things that I used to do when I was in primary school was to sell fish to the villagers.
Yes.
And I'm not ashamed of that.
Yes.
I used to sell fish particularly because of supplementing the living at home. So I grew up under an uneducated grandmother who was working so hard to ensure that we all have the education.
Better education for that matter. Now, Doc, looking at a 10-year-old you who had to learn so much about being independent at such a young age, you then move to being 13 and go to boarding school. But from that time, you're studying through bursaries and scholarships. For someone whom might not just have been smart only, but a hard worker, what has been your source of inspiration to keep pushing, to break forth?
Well, as I've mentioned earlier on, really the hunger to succeed.
Yes.
And maybe there was also an understanding of one's calling, that
Sure.
I'm called to leadership.
Sure.
And I embrace that very well. So knowing very well that, yes, I may be where I am, but where I come from doesn't determine my destiny, doesn't
Yes.
determine where I'm going.
Yes.
You know, so I had those kind of sentiments within myself, and of course, with God being the center of my life, I
Yes.
became a born-again Christian at a very young age of 13 years. So for that, knowing who you are, I think also the identity that I had received through Christ
Yes.
shaped my thinking to understand that I'm not just an ordinary girl from a village who was selling fish to the villagers or fetching water from the river.
Purpose to serve.
Yeah, there's a bigger calling and
Yeah.
a bigger purpose for my life that God has, and therefore I worked hard, as you said. Let alone the fact that yes, I was getting good grades, especially for mathematics and sciences.
Sure.
My former teacher, I hope he's listening, Mr. Kestin, in standard 6, who found me the bursary, by the way, because I was getting not less than like 90%, 96% in mathematics.
Oh my word, Dr. V.
Yeah, so Mr. Kestin, who's now retired, is in Port Alfred, I believe. I'm very, very, very proud of that guy.
Sure. Someone saw something in you, and they were willing to take you to the next level.
Sure.
And talking about people that create such opportunities, I mean, on the talk that you gave in 2018 at the Social Enterprise Forum, you speak so much about your past not defining your destiny. But one thing I like the most is having someone like you has so many friends. You have influential friends. I just want to be like you. You started an organization, a non-profit organization called Estanalezi, which was just a formation of you wanting to help out, wanting to take another person, giving them the same opportunity. How has that journey been? And are you seeing the fruits of what you've planted in those kids' lives?
Very much so. Actually, I'm excited because we'll be hosting a conference later in the year, and we'll be bringing them as graduates.
Wow.
Our latest graduate, by the way, is from my university.
Okay, all right.
Graduated in engineering at TEPO. So we are really, truly proud. But as you say, when God gives you a vision, gives you the provision.
Yes.
So the caliber of friends that I'm surrounded with,
Sure.
they are indeed the provision to the vision that God laid in my heart.
Wow.
So I don't take that lightly, that they bought into the vision and they are running with it. I mean, with the preparation of the upcoming conference, my hands are off. There's a team that is working on that, and diligently so.
Sure.
Someone else is working on something else for the organization, just to make sure that we plow back. So it's all about, plowing back to our communities, and ensuring that that which has been invested in us is not a waste.
Yes.
And I'm talking about high caliber women here,
Sure.
people who are having very serious professions, specialists in their own fields,
Sure.
and who are really having tight schedules, but they have time to give back.
I mean, if the vision bearer is like that, you're bound to be like that as well. And now I want to take you on the very same notch of you being a busy woman. You have a lot that you're doing. You're part of boards, you're serving at the university, and I want to speak now about the work that you're doing with the university. Your passion in research and innovation, where does it come from? Because, I mean, I know that you've done your master's degree in Sweden, specializing in public health research, and now getting to the university after having worked in the private sector. How has that journey or transition been for you?
Well, I must say it has been a very joyous journey.
All right.
That transition has been very much joyous. Firstly, because I'm passionate about what I do.
Yes.
If you are talking about research, you are speaking my language.
Yes.
I've been in the research space since, I mean, I've worked before I worked for private sector, by the way. I worked for the Medical Research Council. I worked for the Perinatal HIV Research Unit in Baragwanath Hospital.
Yes.
I worked for the National Research Foundation. I worked for private sector, but still leading research. Yeah, so the private sector that I was in, as I've mentioned, is a clinical research company, which is multinational. And then now I'm at the university and leading research. And what made that transition, I must say, attributing that to the type of a university that we have.
Yes.
I'm sure you know that our university, Tshwane University of Technology, is the largest university of technology on the continent of Africa. We are having between 60 and 65,000 students at TUT, and we are having a total of 7 faculties, which are spread across 4 provinces in the country, in 6 campuses. And of particular importance, as I'm about to mention, our faculties, which is the Faculty of Arts and Design, Faculty of Humanities, Faculty of Engineering and Built Environment, Faculty of ICT, Faculty of Economics and Finance, Faculty of Science, Faculty of Economics and Finance, yes, and then a Faculty of Management Sciences, as well as Faculty of Science. So there are 7 in total. Sure. But what is so peculiar about our faculties? Firstly, we are the only university in the country that is having a standalone Faculty of ICT.
Wow.
In other universities, ICT is incorporated into either Faculty of Engineering and Built Environment or Faculty of Science. We have a standalone Faculty of ICT. By the way, in that faculty, we also have a research chair on 4IR, which is funded by MICT-CETA. So,
and you have other chairs also. It's not just one chair
that
you have.
Yeah, of course.
How many chairs does the university have?
We actually have a total of 16 as we speak.
Wow.
The recent one, I just signed for it about 2 weeks ago, is from TEARED, 11.3 million for a research chair in agile transportation, which is housed within the Faculty of Engineering and Built Environment. Sure. But overall, we have a total of 16, if I include that latest one. By the way, we should have been standing at 17, but one of our researchers, proudly so, had just finished its tenure of 15 years. This is a research chair that has been funded by the NRF through, rather by the DSI through the National Research Foundation. So we have, as I said, 16, and they are quite diverse, I must say, in different faculties. So we have a total of 8 research chairs out of that 16 that are funded by the DSI through the National Research Foundation, what we call DSI NRF research chairs. And then we also have a research chair that is funded by Gibela, which is a research chair in manufacturing and skills development.
Yes.
We have a research chair that is funded by DBSA, a research chair in infrastructure, which is in the Faculty of Engineering as well. And then we also have a research chair that we've just launched on safety and security on the 7th of April, with main focus on gender-based violence. And I'm sure you would understand what the country and the continent at large is suffering in terms of the scourge of gender-based violence. So we've just launched a research chair which is funded by CASTI on safety and security, with main focus on gender-based violence.
I love that the university is at the heart of the people and serving the people where it matters the most. And I love the fact that the university is relatable to what is happening in the society. Looking at that, you've also just launched IFO, which is the Institute for Future of Work. What's that all about?
Yeah, well, this is my passion. The Institute for Future of Work, I'm sure you would agree with me that things are changing, especially post-COVID. And there is a future that we're looking into, that we need to prepare for. The future that now speaks about machines doing the work more than people doing the work. We're talking about artificial intelligence these days. We're talking about Internet of Things. We're talking about robotics. So for us as a university to establish the Institute for Future of Work is a strategic decision. Particularly because, one, we are focusing on producing future-ready graduates. I think let's start there. In our strategic pillars, one of those strategic pillars is for the University of Technology, which is the People's University, the Tshwane University of Technology, to produce future-ready graduates.
We empower people.
Yes. So we cannot, we have to walk the talk. For us to produce future-ready graduates, it means then it is key that we have the Institute for Future of Work amongst our other institutes that we have. By the way, we have a couple of them. We have 15 centers and institutes and techno stations in total in our university. So coming back to your question of the significance of the Institute for Future of Work, so that feeds into the production of future-ready graduates,
Yes.
and also a vehicle for us to work with industry, to influence the curriculum that is also given to our students, in particular in the areas of YR, as I've mentioned, the elements of YR. So it is quite key for us as well from the perspective of the third stream income of the university. I'm sure you understand that the universities, the first stream income is through our fees, the fees from our students.
Yes.
Second stream income being the subsidy coming from DHET, Department of Higher Education,
Yes.
through the publications, the research output in totality, as well as the master's degree graduations and the doctoral graduations.
Yes.
So as universities, we have no choice but to also pay attention to the third stream income.
Yes.
Particularly because you can see that the funding is becoming very much stringent.
Yes.
It's really shrinking, actually. So we really need to find ways of working with industry as well as with government. By the way, we subscribe to quadruple helix.
Yes.
As a university, meaning the academic institution working with industry and government to solve societal problems.
Sure. What are some of those challenges that the university is solving at the moment?
There's quite a number of them. For instance, if you are talking about the work that is done by the researchers,
Yes.
but let me move a bit from the researchers because I've already mentioned them.
Yes.
The work that is done through our CITES. Let's talk about, I will just pick one center
Yes.
out of many that we have.
Yes.
The Center for Tissue Engineering. You know, I was quite proud, but at the same time sad, because I visited them last week, and they were showing me the human skin, the amount, the quantity that they have of the human skin. And they were saying to me, DVC, we can assure you in the next month, we would be out of human skin in here.
I mean,
because
it's winter already.
It's winter.
So there's going to be a lot of fires.
Fires in the shacks, you know, and there's going to be a need for skin grafting.
Yes.
If you're talking, for instance, about hip replacement, you
Yes.
go to an orthopedic surgeon in a hospital for hip replacement. Who contributes to that? That's a Center for Tissue Engineering.
Sure.
You know, so
There's a lot of work that is being done to contribute.
and to solve real societal problems, because we're a university of technology.
So you
So
need to
we're not
solve
just
problems.
doing research and innovation for the sake of doing it.
Sure.
So we are clear on the fact that firstly, our students need to benefit in
Yes.
the innovation that is happening, the high-end equipment that we solicit out there, going to our centers, going to our institute. It needs to benefit our students.
Yes.
Two, it also needs to benefit the societies. The universities are not the monument of the elite that are sitting out there. They are supposed, and we are indeed, serving the communities in which we reside. So that's very much important. There should not be a disjuncture between the establishment, which is called a university, and the community.
It's not a standalone body.
Yes, of course. And that's why we even have campuses in townships.
Yes.
We have, for instance, one of our actually two of our technical stations. The technical station in chemicals is based in Garankuwa campus. We have also the Institute for Advanced Tooling, which is based in Soshanguve. That is also belonging to the cluster of technology stations that are funded by Technology Innovation Agency. And if, for instance, if you're talking about the technology station in chemicals, if you look at what they do during COVID, as a university, we're procuring all the sanitizers from them.
Sure.
Yes. So, because we create knowledge.
Sure.
We make knowledge work.
So I think that's what makes your role so much important, because it encompasses everything that you're doing. You research, you innovate, but more than that, you engage. Engage with different stakeholders, engage with the community, and work around that tripart circle of people and work that you need to do. More than anything, in your role, your focus and your base is research. But now for someone who's watching now, you're mentioning a lot of things, 4IR, the Institute for Future of Work. Someone is watching now and say, I want to be part of this work. I want to be part of this institution. And there's a lot of careers, I'm sure, that are attached to that so many people are not exposed to. What would you say to someone who says, I want to study at this institution because it's so relevant? What are some of the things that you say, as an institution, we are doing to attract people to come to study with us?
What we're doing right now is one of the examples of our initiatives to make sure, on a serious note, you know, having this conversation on a TV screen, we are telling the world out there that here's the University of Technology of Choice.
That has so much more.
I can go on and on about the innovation that is happening at the university, which speaks to the caliber of the university that we are. We have a research chair which is linked to the French South African Institute, Technology Institute, which is called FSATI. That particular research chair, which is led by Professor Karim Dojan, one of the things that they do there is manufacturing of wheelchairs.
Sure.
And I'm not talking about ordinary wheelchairs. I'm talking about the wheelchairs that are 4IR aligned, you know.
Wow.
Yes. So who doesn't want to be part?
I mean, at this day and age, who really doesn't want
to be part of this university that makes knowledge really work?
Yes,
and trust me, I've given you a quarter or even maybe less than a quarter of the pockets of excellence that are in our university.
Sure.
I've mentioned to you that we have a number of centers, we have a number of institutes. In total, we have 15 if you combine all of them. We call them CITSIs in abbreviation. You talk about the train station in electronics. I was quite very much intrigued when I went to Garangua not long ago, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they were showing us with the ladies and the guys that have been trained. They were showing us the products that they have learned how to do there. They were taught there. You see the ladies who are helping with massage, you know, the oils, they are taught there how to constitute, you know, an oil that you're going to use. So these ladies are able now to go and open their own spa shops, you know. So they are trained there utilizing the funding from TEARED, as an example, TEARED being the Technology Innovation Agency. So who doesn't want to be part of that?
But I like that because all your graduates are being prepared for work in the real space to say, we're not just giving you a certificate on paper. We want you to know and also to build yourself, develop yourself, become your own entrepreneur. Looking at that now and your vision as a DVC, where do you see the institution going, and how would you like someone who's watching now to also come on board and say, I will contribute to what you're doing? I mean, from the private sector as well, because you have a lot of stakeholders in the private sector to say, we want to contribute to what the institution is doing. Yeah.
Please, they should come on board because our Senate had approved a policy on commercial research contracting.
All right.
So now we are very much able to work with industry, company A coming to say, well, can we commission you to do this particular research for us? We sign a contract. I'm not talking about an MOA. I'm not talking about the MOU. Now I'm talking about the commercial contract. Okay. Yeah.
So the institution is at that level?
Yeah, it's at that level. That's why we have the Institute for Future of Work. The expertise are there.
Sure.
You look at the caliber of our research professors. We have what it takes.
Sure.
So they should come on board. By the way, we'll be hosting the premiere on the 11th. Of this month. And one of the things, maybe I should not say much until you guys as media people come in, that will be showcasing is our solar car, which was built by the students and staff of TUT. Solar car. It traveled.
I'm looking forward to it.
It traveled more than 2,000 kilometers to Namibia, that solar car, at the beginning of this year.
Wow.
It was all over the news. I went to one of the petrol stations to send them off, going to Namibia.
Yes.
And I'm talking about not just the ability to innovate, but the students that are being produced from that innovation.
Yes.
You know, the technologies that are being, the students are learning about
Yes, yes.
from that solar car.
Sure.
They are massive. We're talking about a number of doctoral students being produced out of that. We're talking about a number of master students that are produced out of that innovation.
Listen,
Yeah.
Doc, this institution is a game changer. Talking about where we see education and where you see yourself within education, personally, where to from here? You're a DVC. Where to? Are you going to be a VC? Where to?
Can I jump that question?
All right. While you jump that question, though, I have a very important one. Why education? You could be doing other things. You could be in sport. You could be doing other things. But here you are, making a huge difference within our research and innovation space and education. Why?
Education is key. A young girl like myself back then, who
I mean, you
was
still are, Doc.
who was throwing water from the river to drink,
Yes.
going to the river 3 times.
Taking the goats to the deep.
Exactly.
Sure.
The cattle as well. If then education is able to turn me to be a DVC, then education is the way to go.
If education is able to take you from Apukulele Kones Lalini to
And
study
turn me to be,
overseas,
yes. Education is a transformer. It transforms lives. So we can't do without education.
sure.
We just need to, look very closely to the curriculum, starting from the pre-primary school, especially for the future that we are preparing for.
Sure.
I was talking in another conference in Venda last week, on issues of 4IR, and particular the Institute for Future of Work.
Yes.
There's something that we really need to pay attention to. The caliber of cohort that we're bringing from early childhood development
Yes.
In terms of the education,
Yes.
going up to primary school, going up to secondary school, going to the universities, so that we know that the type that gets out of a matric going to a university is already positioned for the future
Yes.
that we envisage.
Yes.
So that's something that we really need to pay attention to.
Sure.
And it should not start at the university
No,
level.
no.
Yes, it's good that we have established the Institute for Future of Work. That was very strategic, as I said, but we need to also, as various stakeholders, those who are responsible for the education at the basic education level,
Yes.
look at the type of curriculum that is being given. Is it shaping our children for the future that is ahead of us? And we also have a responsibility as well to do the same at the helm of the higher institution education.
That's a serious challenge that we're putting out there, and I think it's conversations that we need to carry on. But on a more personal scale, Doc, how would you like to be remembered? If one day you were to leave this earth, we saw what COVID has done to so many people, people that are close to us, people that we love so much. How would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as a woman who came on earth and made a change to that child who was unable to access tertiary education and who has finally accessed it. That woman who was able to change or to give a meaning to a dream to a child who is coming from either a township or a rural area who had no hope, but through the works of a woman like myself was able to further his or her own studies.
Sure. Doc, we wish you all the best in everything that you do. You truly are an amazing woman who is an inspiration, not just to your institution, but you're serving our communities, and we thank you for that.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Such a pleasure.
Yeah.
Guys, you've heard it for yourselves. If this was the first time watching this show, TEARED, make sure that you catch some of our episodes on our YouTube channel. Binge watch them at your own space. But also do check out what the institution is doing, TUT, the Tshwane University of Technology, also known as we empower people. That's their slogan. You've heard from Dr. V. Her inspiration just goes beyond what words could explain. She mentions that your past and your background will never determine your destiny. So all of us have a challenge. Find your definition of what education means to you, but more than anything else, like she did at the age of 10 years, where she discovered herself and her identity, with knowing a purpose and what she's here to serve on earth. Do your best to also contribute to other people's lives. Follow the work that they are doing with Esther Naledi Foundation, and let's support towards what the work is being done there. Up until next time, goodbye.